We are going to see how to use the Excel to calculate the reference temperature of an aerodrome. The first thing is to see where we obtain the data. In the case of the Valencian community, when obtaining temperature and wind data, we must think about websites of meteorological type, webs of near ports, or, in the case of the Valencian community, we have the web of irrigation of the Valencian Institute of Agricultural Research, IVIA. Notice that it is here and it is a good source. The agricultural issue normally often contains meteorological data that may be of interest to us. We are going to go there, click here and we go, and here there are a lot of meteorological stations located in all the localities of Valencia. If we click here, we will obtain the current data, which are not those we want. We want to obtain those historical. Then, we go here, to meteorological data, and from here to the list. And I'm going to do the example with the station of Algemesí, although it would be needed to find a station near the airport we want to put. I select, then, here, I select here the temporal range, which comes to be daily data, so as to make them more disaggregated, date of start, or if we want the data 10 years before the airport. In this case, we have the possibility, then, we are going to get the data from 1st of January 2009. Until 31st of December 2018. We close it and here we click Calculate. This is something that takes a long time and that I already have it done in this tab. Please notice that we obtain the data by pages. We have data of temperature, humidity, wind and others, and you can download it in XLS or XLSX format. I have downloaded it in XLSX format here. Then, I can open this and I have here the data, okay. I have the daily results where I have the date, the average temperature, the maximum temperature. These two will allow us the calculation of the reference temperature of Aerodrome, and then I have here an average wind direction which it can be used to get an idea, although I am not going to be able to obtain the orientation of the runway. But in order to get an idea of in what direction the wind blows in the area is available. Also, I have the maximum gust of wind, which gives an idea of the maximum gust and which gives us the possibility of studying whether these headwinds are going to affect us a lot or not when performing the orientation of the runway, being themselves gusts of winds of low intensity. Then, surely the wind will not affect us too much. How am I going to get the data? In principle, I'm going to put here the years first and I'm going to make a table of years here. I'm going to start here a little closer to put 2009, 2010. Okay, and now I choose these two. I maintain the Shift key and I take the 2 and with the right button of the mouse, I click here and I stretch it until 2018. And now I need to create key field here in order to be able to work. If you notice, here I have the complete date with day, month and year. Then, I'm going to put a key field. I'm going to click here with the left mouse button, right click, insert. I'm going to do a key field that is going to be, I can put it with plus or minus, it doesn't matter, year of the date. One end, quotation marks, a hyphen, quotation marks, another end and month of the date. And error parentheses, that I was wrong, it should be here. I already have it here. I put here year month and I will now use a combination of key, press Ctrl plus C for selecting the formula. I click here in this column, I press the FN key and I go downwards. What happens is that in this keyboard I have no end. I'm going to do it by hand. But if you press FN and then the down arrow, it is going to go to the end of all these data. In order to avoid this that I am doing here now, because the keyboard that I have here has no FN key, and here once I maintain press the uppercase and click and pressing the FN key and upwards, and I go back again upwards of everything. I'm going to go by hand until up here, and now I press with Shift key and now with Ctrl plus V. I already have my key. Notice that I have a key. Then, here what I'm going to do, having already the key, is to build the keys here. I'm going to where I built the years. As I do not have FN key, Navigation is a little more uncomfortable, and here I'm going to put the 12 months, 1, 2, and now I take with the left button of the mouse, I maintain it pressed and I extend it to 12 months. When I already have this, I'm going to concatenate these two. I'm going to put here plus, this here above, and, Camilla's, indent, Camilla's, and to concatenate in this, right, and now I would like to extend this with the slightest effort possible. How am I going to do it? I come here, I'm going to put $2 to see what I want to stretch. I want that this one does not move, with which to the X I am going to put $1 before.
Voy a ponerle los dólares para ver qué quiero estirar. Quiero que no se me mueva este 1, con lo cual la X le voy a poner $1 delante.
And I want that this row does not move, therefore, to the 6 I'm going to put $1 before. And now if I take this and I stretched until here, if I have not made any mistake, I should get the code of all the years, the first one, and down here the code of each of the months. I have it here. Then, I am now going to return to copy this, with Ctrl plus C, Ctrl plus V, and this with Ctrl plus V. Ctrl plus V. Why? Because using the key that I have generated I am going to make a command that is called summer. No, there is summer. Promedio, which is what I want. I would like, this would be the temperatures, the maximum average. No, sorry, average of the means are the ones I'm going to do first. And what I'm going to do is, with plus, promedio, then I'm asked the rank, criterion and range of averages. Then, what I want is, the range is what I'm going to compare, and what I am going to compare is this column. The column of the year month. If I click above, it selects me the whole column. I put a semicolon, and now I'm going to see where the criterion is. The criterion in this case is this one here, but if what this column contains is the same, then it computes the average of the column of the average. In this case, in the column of mean temperatures, I am going to see if selecting the whole column it satisfies me. And I have the average. I am going to put 2 decimals. No, only 1 decimal place. If you pay attention, as I selected, notice that I am going to click F2 to see the colors, but it does not show the colors. I'm going to click here, F2 does not work, so you can see here if I click here, you can notice that I have picked up the entire column and the whole column, with which now when dragging the formula, they are not going to be changed. What is going to change is the I7, which is the reference. Then, I do like this. And I have the averages of all the months, and here the months of the other years. Sorry, I made something wrong. We are going to see what went wrong. Yes, as I am moving towards the side, the column is changing. If I would have gone down but not changing the column, it would have worked. Then, I have to put the dollars to the columns before moving on. Because I am moving horizontally, now it's okay, and now copy the whole section back down again, and now the copy it to the right, and it should now work. Well, I have here the mean temperatures. Now I'm going to do it in the average of the maximums with the Ctrl plus C. I return to copy this here.
Ahora voy a hacer en la media de las máximas. Con Control C me vuelvo a copiar esto aquí.
With Ctrl plus V I return to copy this here. Ctrl plus C and Ctrl plus V down here, and now I'm going to click here and I'm going to select from up here. I'm going to press, with the left button of the mouse, Ctrl plus C and then escape not to edit, and I am going to copy this here. With what I achieve? I copy exactly the same formula without changing the references. Why? Because what I'm going to do is change the column by hand. Instead of column F, now I want the column G, which is the column where I have the maximum of every day, and then I come here and here I am going to tell the program that, here not sorry, here I am going to write that I want that instead of the F I want that what the function averages is the G. G and G. Well, I have here both, and now I can pull down. Sorry, I'm going to click Ctrl plus C before that, because what I'm going to do first is to copy the format. I come here, I copy the format, and now I pull it down, and where it was 10.9 now it is 16.94, and now here, I pull it towards this side and I have here the average of the maximums.
El promedio de las máximas. Bien.
Okay, now, what I'm going to do, I am going to come to see what was the warmest month of each year. This year are the two the same. I can take for example this year. This year was July. They will always be July and August. This year was August. This year was August. This year was July. This year was August. This year was July. This year was July. This year was also August, also July, pardon, and this year was August. Perfect. Why I have marked this like this? Because here now I am going to put plus, I'm going to go to row 7 but of this table, 7, and now with Ctrl plus C, Ctrl plus V, I am going to copy the same. This was also July, then, I'll do the same. These two I'll skip them because it was August. This was July, these two I'll skip them, and here I have the results. Well, and now I have to copy plus or equals, here it would be the month of August. Then, I select these ones and fill the remaining ones. This one was also August. This is August also, and this is August. Perfect. I have therefore the average of the maximum of the hottest month of each year. I just would have to put here plus the average of these ones. And this would have the aerodrome reference temperature. If we now want to see the orientation of the more likely winds, what I can do is to see how they are put the orientations. I'm going up, and I see that they are called as southwest, west, northwest. Well, then, what I'm going to do here is, we're going to the other function which is called contar. I'm going to put north, northeast, east, southeast, south, southwest, west, northwest, and until north, and here what I'm going to do is put plus or equals, it would be the same, contar. This one is simpler, that is to say, the range and the criterion. The range is going to be the column this one here, and for the criterion, semicolon, and the criterion is going to be this one here. I already have it. There are 507 of these. As I put the column as a whole selection, as you can notice up here, I can pull this down. In order to be adding them, notice that now contar I of the same column but Y56. Here, it will be 57, etc. We already have them all. Now what should I do? I have to add, because it is the same direction, north and south. Then, it would be north-south. This one northeast and southwest, this one west. Well, you can notice this has changed. Here it should put south. Things of the spelling checker, okay. Here it would be southeast, northwest, and nothing more because south-north is the same as north-south. Then, here what I do it is to add these two, this one plus this other one. And here I add the others. I check that here this gives me 3652, and this gives me 3652, and I go here at the end to see how many days there are, which should also be 3652. As I do not have the FN key, I have to do it by hand. You see, 3653, we delete the header, and they are 3652. We go up, and we see that the most likely direction of the wind in the absence of a more detailed study is going to be a northeast-southwest. We can also obtain from here the maximum of the wind gusts to see if we are going to have a very strong wind or not. Let's see, gust of wind here. maximum wind speed, maximum gust of wind. We see that we will have, oops, there has been too many strong gusts. Here we would have to take care of the study analyzing where they come from, etc. If we had obtained a small value, we could take into account there will not be strong winds. Notice here that if we have 20, then from here is where you see a gust of 103, which is down here. I have passed it, I have seen it, but now I do not know where it is. Here it is, 103. Well, then we would have to do a more detailed study, but the most probable is that the direction of the wind will be northeast-southwest.